You are not behind on your retirement, and I can prove it to you. Check this out on my screen. This is a real client, a real case study. This was someone who was quote unquote behind, because you can see here, they are 54 years old and they have $1.8 million and they are planning to run out of money by 85 years old. So I'm not showing you this to scare you. I'm showing you this to go, I'm going to show you how you can make sure you are not behind and what is in your control and what's out of your control that you should stop worrying about. I make all these videos on tax planning, estate planning, healthcare, withdrawal strategy, investing, so you can retire with total confidence. Now, there's a fine balance between I don't want you to retire early and run the risk of running out of money, and I definitely don't want you to be mad at me when you're 85 with $15 million going, hey, Ari, that was not my goal. Why didn't you tell me I should have just retired earlier? I was in a fine spot. I had my health, I had my energy. Now, yeah, I have tons of money, but what good is it at this point? So I definitely don't want you to have that regret side of things, and I don't want you to run out of money. My job is to help you balance those things so that you get total confidence. So when you retire, you don't think, was there something I missed? Was this the right time? So let's look at this for a better example. My name is Ari Taublieb. I'm the host of the Early Retirement Podcast. I am the Chief Growth Officer at Root Financial, and I love making videos on retirement planning. I am a CFP, a certified financial planner, and let's get into today's video. So you're going to need to know two things. One, you're going to need the backstory of this client, or else you're not going to understand why they're behind and relate it to your own situation. So you can see if we learn a little bit more about them, 55 and 52 years old, no children. They've saved and invested really well. Look at this. They've paid off their home. They still feel behind for some reason. They have $1.8 million and $38,000 in the bank. Now, a lot of people feel behind because it's that keeping up with the Joneses of I just don't have enough. If you remember the Rockefeller quote a long time ago when people asked him, hey, how much do I need? He said, hey, just a little bit more. That's what everyone used to say, just a little bit more. And we call that goalpost planning, where you keep pushing back the goalposts because, you know, $2.5 million, then I'm going to retire. $3 million, $4 million, one more project, one more bonus. So I will often try to be transparent with you guys because I joke that I'm the meanest advisor on YouTube. I promise I'm not mean. I'm just very transparent. And I ask is you do one thing for me right now, is you pause this video and you either ask yourself, which I'm okay with if you're honest, or go ask your partner, not saying you're a liar, just asking you to take some action here, and say, how many times have I pushed back my retirement? Now, if they go, what do you mean? We're on track. We've talked about it. We want to retire in 10 years together. You don't have to do that. But if you're being totally honest with yourself, if you're like, I've done it. I've said I was going to retire, but I pushed it back another year. Or I actually just found out I should consider retiring 5 years earlier because I saw this video and it looks like I'm in a better situation than them and they're not sure if they should retire. So all of this to say, I do want you to hopefully take a real takeaway from this video, not just, well, that was informative, but wow, I see there's value to doing good tax planning or looking at healthcare a certain way, or whatever that may be. So with that being said, you learned a little bit about them. In terms of their goals, they are planning to retire at 62. They want to spend $8,000 a month after taxes, adjusted for inflation. They've got some healthcare and long-term care estimates, and then they do want to help out a niece with a college goal. So $35,000 a year is what they're planning for that. Not forever, but just for a couple of years. So with this being said, when we look at their plan here, why are they running out of money? Well, the first thing is they said, what if we retired at 58? So what's in their control? This is in their control. What if they don't retire at 58? What if they retired at 62, but we change nothing else? So as a reminder, all of what I'm showing you today is available to you in the description of this episode. This is where I tell people, I want you to dream in here. So I'm not mad at this person at all. So you might be wondering, do I have enough? Am I behind? What I want you to do to start, I promise I do this with hundreds of clients. This is what leads to success. Go dream big. I'm not saying we're going to get to do all of these things. There's so many moving pieces, but I want you to dream big. So I told them, when would you like to retire? And they said 58. I said, great. How much would you like to spend? They said $8,000 a month after taxes, so about $100,000 a year. I said, how much would you love for travel? $30,000 a year. Healthcare estimates, long-term care, we put some estimates in there. So this is what we started with. Now, what's in their control? How long they work, that's in their control. If they worked until 62 and decided they didn't want to leave any money behind, if their plan went exactly as we're planning for it here, which it never does, obviously plans change, you could see there'd be $477,000 at the end, 2.1 million fewer dollars. But look, I mean, they worked till 62. They spent $8,000 a month, another 30. That's $130,000 plus extra on healthcare. I mean, they're spending a significant amount of money, and they might go, that is worth it to us because we really don't want to keep working. They might go, no, we're going to sleep better at night working till 65. They could absolutely work till 65. Look at this. If they do that, there's $1.7 million at the end. That's significant. Now, some people they get that analysis paralysis. If you get that, tell me in the comments, because I try to make these videos for you where you go, I think I have enough, but I run more projections and more thoughts come up. And what if my returns don't do what I think? And what if Social Security's gone? Let me ask you a simple question. Would you rather work longer so you can spend more, or would you rather stop working and it means you can only spend what I'm showing you right now? So let's look at their example so you can relate it to you. To this couple, I said, how would you rather work longer so you can spend more? And they said resounding yes, which means this $8,000 a month, this was not going to change. $8,000 a month, that's what they want so they can be happy, which means this is the only lever they can move, how long they work. Now pretend they said, well, we really don't want to keep working, but we're willing to spend less. We're willing to spend less if it means we can stop working. Okay, well, what if we switch that $8,000 a month to $6,000 a month? And you can see in real time what is the shift that makes. And it's significant. Now there's 1.1 million at the end, and they got 4 years taken off, their original plan. Travel. Maybe they're big travelers, so they want that for 20 years. That's a non-negotiable. So ask yourself, what are your priorities here? You can then layer on other things such as part-time work. Do they retire at 58? Stop making $140,000 a year and start making $50,000 a year, doing something they like that's just way more fun? Does that make a big difference? It does. Why does that make such a big difference? Well, part-time income plays a big role because that's less money you're withdrawing from your portfolio, which lets that continue to grow. So it's not like $50,000 to some people. They go, I was making 150, 2, 3, 500,000 at the peak of my career. What good is 50,000 going to do? They're thinking about it wrong. They're thinking 50, that doesn't compare to 500. When 50 is a lot because it means your $2 million portfolio that just grew at 10% just brought in $200,000. So what we need to do is think about this in the retirement frame of mind, not the accumulator phase of mind. Now, what else is in their control? Well, how much they work, spending, do they work part-time, how much they save. But one of those things that's in their control is how they invest. So they could decide, hey, we want to be the most aggressive investors in the world. They could choose, we want to do that. We're happy to accept that level of volatility. And you could see it could pay off. There could be $3.7 million more if they historically rely on the most aggressive returns. They might go, we know investing is in our control, but we want to be preservation. Preserve. Well, they could do that, but now we're running the risk of inflation outpacing us, where they might, even if they want to spend $6,000 instead of $8,000, they might have to work until 65 if that was the case. So we always need to ask ourselves, what are our priorities? You can see here, even if they're in preservation mode, let's move it to balanced. Balanced is putting them in a position where, yes, they're retiring, and maybe they don't need to work till 65. They could work till 62. Their original plan, they're not spending 8 a month, but spending 6 a month. And to them, that might be comfortable. So the reason you're not behind is because no one has any idea how much you want to spend. We have clients that spend $3,000 a month in retirement just for fun. What if they want to spend $3,000 a month? No travel. I would say that's probably not the most fun retirement. Most of our clients would be sad going, wow, we have $5 million at the end, but we really didn't enjoy our retirement. That wasn't worth it. But some people go, look, traveling's not my thing. I have a health condition, or I'd rather be at home. I'm a homebody. Great. You might be able to retire way earlier. I would say, what if we stopped working right away? Well, you're not behind because your plan is your plan only. So I encourage you, go dream big. What I didn't talk about today is, what if you downsize? What if you want to give to children? I didn't go into tax strategy or estate planning or healthcare because I have so many videos on that. This is specifically on why you're not behind and why I encourage you to take some action. At a minimum, play with a software tool like this or your own Excel spreadsheet and see when you are actually in a position to retire early. That's it for this video. As always, we love what we do here. We help people coordinate all of this: insurance, estate, healthcare, taxes. In the description of this video, you can actually see a link to our website, Root Financial, where you can go and click the little button in the upper right that says Start Here, see if you're a fit, and then if it makes sense, you'll be prompted to answer a few questions to see if it makes sense to work together. That's it for this video. Thanks, guys.